Well, blessed Wednesday to you. I hope you're having a good day. The Lord's blessing you greatly, I pray. I want to talk to you today about watch yourself. Watch yourself. I'm going to read to you from 1 Corinthians. I'm going to read the last 2 verses of chapter 9 and then the first 13 verses of chapter 10. We'll talk about them as we go through them. It says, "Therefore I run, thus not with uncertainty. Thus I fight, not as one who beats the air, but I discipline my body and bring it into subjection, lest, when I have preached to others, I myself should become disqualified." Discipline's not something we hear too much about today. We just want to live carefree, live the way we want to live, do what we want to do, when we want to do it, how we want to do it. Not a good way to live. Not if you're serving Jesus Christ, because it takes a disciplined life, a life of servitude, a life given to prayer and seeking the face of the Lord and working to do good for others and bring people into the kingdom. Paul says, I have to discipline myself because if I've preached to others, then I could be disqualified. We don't want to go down that road. When we've lived a good life and then we find out that our works, our fruit has not been worthy, and we're cast out. But then he goes on to say, "Brethren, I don't want you to be unaware that all of our fathers were under the cloud, all passed through the sea, all were baptized into Moses in the cloud and in the sea, all ate the same spiritual food, all drank the same spiritual drink, for that they drank of that spiritual rock that followed them, and that rock was Christ. But with most of them God was not well pleased, for their bodies were scattered in the wilderness." Judgment will come if you don't please God. The day will come. "Now these things become our examples." He gives us examples so that we won't follow their ways. "To the intent that we should not lust after evil things as they also lusted. And do not become idolaters as were some of them, as it is written, the people sat down to eat and drink and rose up to play." Doesn't that sound like the world today? Everything and anything to please me. Anything that pleases me is okay. They sit down, they eat, they drink, and they play, and they party. That's life today for so many people. If you got a job and you're working, then you work to get the paycheck so that you can be off on the weekend and party and play. So many people live that life. That's not the life that Christ has set aside for us. He said they didn't, nor let us commit sexual immorality as some of them did. In one day 20,000 fell. Sexual immorality is a major problem in the world today. Christian people calling themselves Christians, especially the young people, they say a major part of the young people that call themselves Christian are living together, sleeping together without marriage, and they think they're okay with the Lord. They're not, because that's not what the Word says, and they need to get saved. You can call yourself a Christian and not live the life. It doesn't mean what you call yourself. You can call yourself anything. It's the life you live. Sexual immorality. Some of them did. 23,000 fell. He said, "Nor let us tempt Christ, as some of them also tempted him and were destroyed by serpents. Nor murmur, as some of them also murmured and were destroyed by the destroyer." Again, murmuring is a big thing today. People gripe and bellyache about everything. He said basically that old saying, if you can't say anything good, don't say anything at all, really should take hold in our lives. Speak life, not death. Don't murmur against God. Don't murmur against people. Don't murmur against things. If you can change it, but don't bellyache about it. Just do what you have to do to see it changed. Until it does, then live with it. "Now all these things happened to them as examples." Again, examples. "And they were written for our admonition," or our instruction, "on whom the ends of the ages have come. Therefore, let him who thinks he stands take heed lest he fall." Again, watch yourself. Don't get so entangled in the world. Don't get so wrapped up in everything else that you lose your very soul. The fear of God is the beginning of wisdom, and we need to make sure that everything we do is according to His will and purpose, and we fear Him. Because He said, don't fear the one who can destroy the body. Fear the one who can destroy the body and cast the soul into everlasting darkness. That's the one we fear, and that's God Himself. And we do need to have a fear of Him, because He can do that. Now, if we're serving Him, we need to have a reverent fear. We don't have to fear for our lives if we're truly serving Him, but we need to have a reverent fear of Him always, because He's God. And so many people take advantage of that and treat Him like, the deal, oh, Daddy, Papa. And to a certain extent, that's okay, but not to the point where you lose reverence for Him. It says, no temptation has overtaken you except such as is common to man. Do you hear that? No temptation has overtaken you except that is common to man. There's nothing new under the sun. Every temptation Jesus went through and He overcame. The world's full of every kind of temptation, and there's no new temptations coming around. But God is faithful, who will not allow you to be tempted beyond what you are able, but with the temptation will also make the way of escape that you may be able to bear it. And I've heard people say, God's not going to give me too much. God's not going to put me in such a place where I just can't take it anymore. God doesn't do that. You know what? Let's read about what James says about temptation. That's chapter 1 of James, 13 through 16. It says, let no one say when he is tempted, I am tempted by God. God cannot be tempted by evil, nor does He tempt anyone. Your temptation doesn't come from God. Read that. Get that in your heart. Get that in your mind. Let's see where it comes from. Each one is tempted when he's drawn away by his own desires and enticed. Your desires, your fleshly desires, is what draws you back from that place, and you're tempted to do things that you ought not to do. Then, when desire is conceived, it gives birth to sin, and sin, when it is full grown, brings forth death. Do not be deceived, my beloved brethren. Don't be deceived. God will not tempt you. When temptation comes, it's because you are enticed by something of this world. It's your flesh. But He says He will help you. He will help you overcome. He says, going back to 1 Corinthians, every temptation He will also make a way of escape that you will be able to bear it. Doesn't say He's going to take you out of it. He says He will give you a way out. He's not going to remove it from you. You have to deal with you through the Spirit. You have to let God deal with you. That way of escape is running to Jesus Christ, asking for help, moving away from those things that tempt you, and allowing God to come in and fill that void, fill that place where you're tempted, fill that thing that you're tempted to do, and help you change your heart, your mind, your thought patterns. He didn't say it was easy. He says He'll help you through it so that you can bear it. That means you can stand up under the pressure of it, under the struggle of it. You can overcome if you will give it to Jesus Christ, and that's the promise. And God's promises are always, are always true. God's promises are always true, and we can trust Him. So I encourage you, watch yourself. Don't let yourself get involved in the world. He said to love the world is enmity with Him. The things of this world have nothing for us. We have to live in the world, but we can't love this world. We love Jesus Christ and the things of God and the things of Christ, and we do those things, and we let the others go by the wayside and do not let them take priority in our lives. Watch yourself, because judgment is coming, and each one will stand before Jesus Christ and be judged according to their works. And if your works are faithful and true, then He will say, well done, good and faithful servant. But if you have not lived that life, if you've lived a partial life for Him, if you haven't lived for Him at all, then He will say, depart from me, I know you not, you workers of iniquity. Don't be the one that He pushes away because you chose not to serve Him. Be the one that serves Him with all your heart, all your mind, Discipline your body. Discipline your mind. Discipline your life so that Jesus Christ is first and foremost. I love you, and I pray this has helped. God bless.